Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series finale of Resident Alien. A great series finale, beautiful episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So I knew Ethan was going to return in this episode, but it didn't play out the way I thought it would, and it is funny how it is kind of like everything being like reciprocal, like everything kind of coming full circle in a lot of ways. But like Ethan was on his way here to kill Harry because he's like, yeah, this is my only revenge. It's because of him, everything I went through. His mom is talking to him off the phone, trying to talk him off a cliff, but then a ship lands. She says they're coming. I thought that was like the Greys or something, but maybe on some level, well, we get an explanation from Harry later on. I'll talk about that then. But I think it's a situation of, at the end of the day, like, it never even crossed my mind that it might be Harry's people. Never crossed my mind. But yeah, like the moment you see the hand, you're like, oh no, that's Harry's people. And so now it's obviously the situation of, you know, Harry's kind of packing up and get ready to say goodbye. And he's having this conversation with Dan and Kayla about like, oh yeah, like he said, now, you know, I want a whole bunch of pies. It's like, no, you get 2 of each pie. And, you know, they're kind of saying goodbye. But then they bring up something that kind of got Harry scared because he's like, well, the moment you leave, we're going to find a replacement doctor. He's like, what do you mean? No, you don't need to do that. So, yes, the town needs a doctor. If you're leaving, we're going to need a new doctor. Hell, that person might even live in your cabin. He's like, no, they won't. He's like, I would rather burn it down than let anyone live on it. That's some BS. And so it's because Harry's so scared that he's like, if I leave and I'm replaced, then it'd almost be like I was never here to begin with. And that's his fear. And so he wants to, you know, that's why the episode playing out the way it does. He so badly wants to prove himself. It's like, hey, I'm going to be the hero again, and they'll have no choice but to not replace me. They'll remember how great and amazing I am. I mean, once again, the very human thing of Harry to feel. But we'll get to that in a second. Asta, she said like, oh, she had a dream about Jay being pissed at her, Judy coming in with a whole bunch of books, and then an alien crash landed here. Well, all 3 of those happened. Jay's pissed at her because Jay's like telling her mom like, oh my God, I'm going off to college and stuff like that. It's like, oh, that's great. Also, you know, it's like, oh, I'm going to Amsterdam, and she's like, oh, cool, that's a great vacation. And Asta's like, well, it won't be a vacation. And Jay's a little hurt because it's like, obviously, like, Asta's only, we don't know how much time has passed over the course of the entire series. I mean, obviously, like, there's been some time jumps and stuff like that, but in general, I don't know if it's been a couple years in universe or not, but either way, for Jay, it's like, it's still really new for Asta being her mom, biological mom, and being in her life properly as her mom. And so it's like, wait for you to kind of up and leave now. Because it's like, you know, you stopping by, like, is not the same, especially if you're going to be like halfway across the world. That's different from knowing like, oh, you're going out for a little bit, but you'll be back in patience. She's going through the same thing Harry and Darcy did, where it's like, oh, like, I thought I could always rely on the fact you'll be here and I'll be able to kind of easily be able to have access to you. And, you know, it's understandable, you know, in that regard, because Jay feels like it's almost like you're leaving me again just when we are so good, we found our rhythm, and I thought like that rhythm could continue, but it's just the fact is that things change, not everything stays the same. And so Jay's pissed at her. Judy comes over because she needs places to keep her encyclopedias, which are like, why? At first I was like, why you have all those books? I was like, are we gonna, like, is this gonna be like the last revelation of this show or something, like where Judy's gonna end up being like, no, I'm actually becoming smart or something, like, you know? But it's like, no, she just needed a place to stash her encyclopedias, which I'm like, why? And why would you be waiting for this opportunity? Why did you find, I guess it's like, this is a free opportunity for you to take this available place to do it, because she was apparently putting them in her oven until now. And then finally, they go over to Harry to talk to him about everything and find out why Asta had the dream that she had. Apparently, it's some residual left over from the Mantis poison that's made it so that she's like astral projecting and kind of seeing into other timelines, which I was like, I'm curious if that's an element, the fact that they're introducing that here. Like, is that just a little snag they're including here, or was that like a thread they always might have considered for Asta's story, and they're just kind of implementing it here? Because I almost wonder, like, they never said, like, it. I don't remember if Harry said that would ever go away, because I'm curious if that's going to be something she persistently has, like, for the rest of her life, you know? I was thinking it might be something with his blood that did it, but it's like, no, I think it's specifically the Mantis blood. So I'm wondering, like, maybe like after this, the poison completely works its way out of her system, but that was still like the residuals of it. So now that it's completely out of her system, it was a one and done thing. So, but Harry sees this as a great thing. He's like, wait, that means that when I can go and investigate this and deal with this alien, and once again they'll love me and appraise me, and they'll yada yada yada, so on and so forth. So they go and investigate, and they run into an agent. He's like, hey Frank, remember, like, you had that too much cologne and the people in the prison were calling you stank. He's like, not me though. And so I was like, take me to your leader. It's Major Hill and David, which I actually completely forgot David was alive, legitimately. I actually completely forgot what happened to David. It was kind of nice seeing him kind of pop up one more time. Because obviously his coworker, like, I remember her getting super murked. Yeah, that was season 2 she got murked, if I remember correctly. That might have been, I don't remember if that was the first half or second half of season 2 she got murked. I don't know why I've been saying that word a lot lately, like, oh, someone getting murked. I don't know why I'm doing that. Do forgive me. But, because I don't think we knew who took over after Alistair, like, well, as we can see, like, literally went back in time. It's like, no one, like, that she just lived out the rest of her life, which, you know, begs the question. I guess, once again, it's more like, I think they might have touched on that too. It's in-game rules, so, like, she's living in an alternate timeline, so even her doing what she's doing doesn't affect this timeline, but it most likely means, like, maybe the general never, like, well, goes into the military and becomes who she becomes in that timeline, considering, like, her dad's around and she's there to kind of make sure everything goes well, that, you know, they're not kind of alone. It's just kind of a larger thing to kind of think about. But yeah, kind of like I said, history repeating itself. This alien came disguised as Ethan, and lo and behold, who's the first person he runs into? Max, who immediately goes, oh my god, not this again, points him out. And then, like, Harry goes and meets with Ethan, and he's just like, yo, this pie is great. He's here to do... Oh, the reason why he's here is because apparently the Greys, which they're no longer a threat to Earth, because Harry thwarted their plans and ruined their whole Yellowstone project. They couldn't pay off their debt, and so now, like, ownership of Earth went back to Harry's people, and now they're here like, right, we go back to killing humanity because they're terrible, yada yada yada. And Harry's, you know, having gone on this journey to be like, no, they're not. They're actually a lot more than you think. And it's like, no, they're not. They've never done anything good. I mean, except for this pie. And he's like, God, you should try some of this. So now Harry's like, he's like, I trying to find this material, tellurium. He's like, there's no, okay, but it goes by a different name. But he's like, I can't wait. I'll get that ball sack in my hand. He's like, ha ha ha. He's like, oh, I'm coughing. If you were a doctor, you'd really know that. And he's like, oh, here, water's good for. It's like, oh. Like, from the beginning, you could tell he actually is much more of a, even though he's here to kill all humanity, he's definitely, destroy all humans, if you want to say, he's still he's actually a better alien-sized-person than Harry. Like, I guess it's more supposed to be an implication of, like, Harry was such an asshole as a human that, like, Ethan being, like, a better, like, not as much of an asshole as an alien, despite his mission being here, he was a lot more amenable to the situation versus Harry, so... But yeah, everyone's gathered around. Harry's like, I got a big declaration. It's like, oh yeah, like, there's an alien here trying to destroy. It's like, wait, what's going on? It's like, well, Asta told us. It's like, what? That was my big announcement. She's like, well, I thought everyone should know. It's like, well, you should also know he's disguised as, yeah, Dr. Ethan. Son of a, why are you people ruining everything? And so the plan is, like, Harry's like, oh, I'm going to kill him. And it's like, okay, so... Especially at such an awkward time, considering, like, earlier in the episode, her takeaway from the whole thing last episode, she's like, let's arrest Harry because he killed the original Harry, the real Harry Vanderspiegel. So I was like, oh, that's rough. So, and even, I think it's interesting because Mike's like, why? Like, well, you know, he did save the day and stuff like that, but Liv is almost entering her anti-alien stage of her, because she's like, for her, it's like, I was the biggest alien supporter, and then I almost get killed by one. Like, it soured her opinion on them a little bit, but Mike was very dismissive of the situation. So aside from all of that, they are gathered all together, and they're telling Harry they don't need him. He's like, no, no, you need me, just like you need me with the mantis. But they're like, no, we got this covered. And then he proceeded to explain, like, yeah, I kind of mind wiped you guys and gave you fake memories. Which Liv is like, oh, that time that was missing. Mike did not handle it as well, because it's like, wait, that one good memory with me and my dad, you kind of soured that. Him and his dad definitely were having a better relationship post all that, I believe. I think they still had a rough relationship post that episode, didn't they? But I can't remember. I thought they did get better, but it's just because Mike believed he had that memory. I think like he interacted with his dad prior to getting that fake memory, I think. But for Mike, that meant a lot, considering how fractured his relationship with his father. And so he's pissed at Harry, and it's like, let's arrest him, but they can't keep him anywhere because he'll break out of whatever cell they put him at, because they don't have the government like sanctioned equipment and stuff to hold him. And so Harry wants to go kill Mike now, because Mike is so angry at him, and he doesn't want to leave Earth with anyone hating him. So it's like, it's better if I just kill him, or the lady at the store or whatever that yelled at him. But while he was gone, there was kind of this heart-to-heart conversation all around. I mean, Ben was a little like, yo, Harry sucks. Because first and foremost, he's finding out, oh, he actually killed the real Harry? He's like, well, what did you expect him to do? He's like, I don't know. I thought because he's an alien, he found another way around it. I didn't know he had to murder the guy, to disguise himself as him. And then Mike's kind of got this perspective of just that he ruined my life. And I love him and Darcy going at it, and just like the chest bumping, and then like, yo, you want to go there? It's like, oh, I'm gonna go there, and just him like circling each other with bumping chests like that. I loved it. But Darcy ends up pointing out there's a lot of good that Harry did do. Yes, he did bad, but it is outweighed by the good that he's done. It's like, if it wasn't for Harry being here, Asta and Jay wouldn't be in the situation. He kind of screwed the pooch on that, and unintentionally, set that in motion. But because of that all being set in motion, like that, if he wasn't for his like just being an asshole, who knows when Asta would have ever told Jay the truth. It probably would have been way later, but they are where they are right now. Darcy's like, I also wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for Harry. Yes, he was being blunt, and it took someone not caring about me, but caring about me in that one moment that I'm still here. Liv brings up like, yeah, we wouldn't be here. Like, he saved our lives because of the Greys, and that's the same thing for Ben and Kate. It's like, if it wasn't for him, like, we wouldn't even have our babies right now. We'd continue being kidnapped by the Greys. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Harry put his soul on the line to stop that, and like, so that they would stop taking us and our baby. Like, he protected us. So, but Mike is going to need a little bit more convincing. So Harry he had an interesting conversation with Asta, where Asta's kind of like, you can find a different way to handle this. He's, to kind of make things right with the whole Mike thing of like, whether, and it's like, because Asta knows, like, you didn't ruin his life. Because in fact, she's like, you've done a lot of good and bettered a lot of people's lives. She knows that. She's seen it firsthand. And so he tries to make things right. He sets up Mike having this fishing day with his dad, which is actually really sweet. I thought Harry was just going to set it up to be like, oh, I'm actually going to properly apologize to you. Did not see the whole, oh, like, let's make that fake memory into a real memory. So that was really beautiful. And at the very least, it does, like I said, I don't remember where him and his dad's relationship were. It might have already been, it might have been okay-ish, but I don't think it was, but I don't remember it being, but this is definitely a first step to things being better, The Darcy thing was really beautiful too, when she goes to the woman from AA, and it's like, oh, she wants to give up on skiing, but Darcy's like, no, you don't need to do, like, first and foremost, you don't need to go to school to do that. Like, if you want to ski. She's like, I like went to like 2 different schools and failed out, but I still ended up going to the Olympics and stuff. It's like, basically, you don't need to be so down on yourself with this. And I think it's beautiful, like, the way they're setting Darcy up, that I think she found her purpose in life, because she's like, she wants to be there for this person just like Harry was there for her. And it's like, sometimes it takes someone who doesn't really know you or doesn't really kind of caring in the moment, that could make all the difference. But like I said, I think Darcy gave her some tips on like, oh yeah, like when you're lifting your, like when you're skiing, you should do this. And it's this beautiful thing of, well, Darcy might not be able to ski anymore, but she could be there for other people. For one, she could become like a counselor for people who are going through something, but she could also be a coach for other skiers. I think either or. But I was leaning more so like the skiing type of coach. I think that could be a next chapter for Darcy's life, and I thought that was beautiful. Asta was debating on what opportunities were presented to her, because she found out that like there's an NGO situation, kind of like a doctor's situation, that could use her help as a nurse. But she also wants to kind of go through Amsterdam. It's like, oh, I'm at this fork in the road, and there's so many options, and I don't know which one to pick. And is actually talking to Kate that made her realize, like, you don't have to pick one. Why just pick one? And that made Kate reevaluate some things, that she actually wants to quit teaching and go back to being a law student full time, because that way she's like, there's always a part of myself I've pushed down that I want to be able to kind of bring, like, embrace all of me and be kind of whole again. And she's like, that way I can make more room and be there and more present for you, Bella, and Max. And even Ben taking away, his takeaway from all this is like, well, the aliens kind of screwed him up. He's like, the reason why I am the way I am, I always blamed my parents, but it was actually aliens abducting me. But she's like, yeah, but the weird thing is, like, there is a silver lining of the aliens abducting you made you into who you are, the kind of weirdo that you are, but you're my weirdo. And then the Girl Scout cookie thing, where like they confronted that person, I was like, is that going to be the real girl and not like the alien? But he's like, but they were like, I can't talk to you anymore. So I was like, sounds like it's probably the real alien. But it's like, we'll kill you, come near my family again, I'll kill all of you. And the other girls run away, and the alien's like, yeah, those girls weren't with me, those were just real regular girls. It's like, well, shit. Grab some of the boxes, they grab 2 or 3 boxes, dump the rest out of the wagon, and run away. So I guess like just showcasing like there's some of the Greys are just still here operating. I mean, we know Joseph's out there somewhere just kind of living his life. I almost kind of was surprised like he didn't make a final appearance, but you know. We have Mike getting snatched up by the government, and he initially was like, no, I'm not going to work with the government and stuff like that. They're like, well, you get all these special weapons. He's in. I was like, I'm in, but I had one condition. And then like they do the exact same thing to Liv, and it's like, did you really have to go about it that way? Couldn't Mike have just talked to her like on his own? Like, did you have to go through the trouble of just knocking her out and then like bringing her here? But Mike's like, yeah, if you don't do it, we're gonna have to kill you. And they're like, no, we're not. It's like, yeah, you're gonna join the Men in Black. So that's not what we're called. And she's like, could you stop advocating for them having to kill me? And Liv's like, I'm not sure. And then she's talking to Hill. She's like, oh my god, like one condition, like, will I be able to see any files on fairies? And she's like, no, those are too classified. She's like, but you did prove to me that fairies exist. Well, look at you being smooth, Liv. But also, like, because like, wasn't it her aunt or great aunt or whatever that believed in fairies and stuff like that? I mean, and that was a very important, beautiful moment between her and Kate a few episodes back. So to kind of bring that back to be like, okay, knowing what else is out there and what they know exists. And so they're kind of Men in Black going forward. So, I mean, they're not Men in Black, but you get the point I'm making. So that's kind of neat. They'll still be maintaining their jobs, looking over patients, but they'll also be, Peter actually kind of recommended Mike for the job. So, and I guess this would probably also lead to... Peter's probably working in other areas and stuff like that, but it probably makes it likely that they might, join forces every once in a while. So it's Liv's way to kind of see Peter and Robert. And then finally we had the whole Ethan situation, because the plan is, hey, let's get him drunk. I'll reach down and pull out his stomach or whatever organs I need to. And they proceed to get him drunk. And it's like, but then, like, a guy offers him his seat and stuff. And for Ethan, it's like, wait, what's this warm feeling about? He's like, oh, that's you feeling love and kindness. He's like, nah, that's just me getting adjusted to the human body. And for Harry, it's like, wow, it's happening. Like, it's like, wait, does that mean just like you became more human being here, does that mean that does that mean that your people are capable of it? And it's I get for Harry, it's like I guess he is. I guess any of his people, but maybe also maybe any alien is capable of that. They spend enough time here. I mean, look at Joseph. I mean, to be fair, he's half human, half alien, but still. And so when it's all said, I mean, obviously it's not applicable because, well, his father was very stuck in his way. So, like, if you're less of an asshole, then once again, it took Harry a while, and his dad didn't conform immediately like Ethan did. But once again, that just speaks more about Ethan's character of like, oh, you're actually a good person versus like Harry and his dad. I mean, but obviously Harry's better than his dad. But to be fair, like maybe given enough time, his dad could have been better. But he was an asshole way back when, so it's kind of a moot point. But then Harry proceeds to play Starships by Nicki Minaj. I'm sure that's a callback to the first episode. I remember him getting drunk and dancing in the first episode of the series, but I didn't remember if it was that song specifically. Which that might have been the last time I ever heard the original version of that song. Because any subsequent over the years time I've ever heard that song, it's because there was a post-hardcore / metalcore band I liked called Above the Broken, and they did a cover of it. That's like the most recent version I've ever heard. Like obviously they did the cover like years ago, but it's like something that would come up in like my recommended rotation from time to time musically. So, but I've always heard the cover. I haven't heard the original song in so long. I mean, maybe I have heard it more recently in something else and I'm not placing it, but it was just kind of nice hearing that song. I really like the song. I know Nicki Minaj herself does not look back fondly on that song, but I really like that. I think that, I don't know that era in general of her music, but specifically, I think she does not like that song. I still like the song. I think it's a very catchy song and it's just a fun time. And, Ethan's partying and dancing. And for Harry, it's like, I could kill Ethan, but I'd be robbing him of that opportunity to become human, like, and grow. And that's what this whole thing's about. And that's what he did. And why would I rob someone else of that opportunity? And I thought that was kind of beautiful. Everyone kind of dancing. And then obviously Judy and Ethan seemed like that become a thing. I'm kind of happy about that. Because Judy deserves to find her happiness, and her and Ethan hitting it off. And it's like, wow, once again, he's actually showing himself to be a lot more generous and nicer than Harry. So it's a little like get together between Asta, Dan, Darcy, and Kayla. And Asta told everyone her plan about what she was going to do. I did skip over it, but she had a beautiful moment with Jay too, because Jay opened Asta's present and it ended up being all the letters she wrote to her over the years, like every birthday. And it's just like, right, just showcases like my mom really was thinking about me. So it's like, I'm going to miss you, but I love you so much. And they had a very beautiful hug out at this when she was talking Harry down from trying to use baby aspirin to try and kill Mike. But yeah, like it's that beautiful thing where it's like I said, the story continues where it's like, so Ethan's still going to be here and we're going to see but the difference is it isn't, it's Asta's not going to be here to kind of help human him more. It's probably going to be Judy, which I think that's going to be an interesting thing when Judy potentially finds out he's like, obviously like the difference is our core cast knows, and obviously Asta's not going to be here, but they're all going to be there to keep an eye on Ethan, to keep him in line, but also like the person, like just like the person he latched onto ended up being Asta, it seems like the person he's going to latch onto is going to be Judy, and it's going to be so fascinating. It would be so fascinating to know who he becomes as a human because of that. And it becomes this larger conversation too that I think Dan and them had at the diner was maybe Harry wasn't the first alien that's come here and changed. Maybe there's been other aliens that have come here with the same purpose, but being here, they changed and they decided to stay and they became more human themselves. So, avoiding destruction time and time again. So, because who's to say like this has only happened that Harry's the first alien to ever visit, So, and he definitely wasn't, but like he's not the the assumption was almost like maybe he's the first alien to ever stay here, but it's like, there probably have been others over like Earth's existence, so just it's actually really sweet and like beautiful sentiment to kind of think about and have. In that same conversation, their people, their tribe has like that phrase that basically translates to "see you sometime," and I'm always a sucker for that kind of lining, like see you sometime somewhere, almost like no matter where it is out there, like, in the universe, in the world, like we'll see each other again at some point in time, and I like that sentiment. So Harry and Asta are both, packing, and it's specifically Harry not wanting to close his bag because closing his bag would make it that real that he has to leave. And Asta's kind of reminding him that, like, just because you're going to be going doesn't mean people are going to forget you. It's not going to be like you, because you've changed people's lives. She's like, I know that you have. You have made people's lives better. She's a person, she's an example of that, and so many of the people around them are too. He's like, yeah, I did. At the very least, I tried to help people. And then Bridget says something. He's like, and also after I tried to kill people. And it's like, yes, that order is important to note. Something that also crossed my mind is like, well, to be fair, and we don't touch on it at all. Let's not forget the real Harry Vanderspiegel has a daughter who hadn't returned to patients in a while. She was only here for that little bit. I can't remember if is that season 2 she was in the show, or was that? I believe that was season 2. I don't think that was season 1. Obviously, Bridget was disguised as her like earlier in the season, but it's like kind of a nice funny reminder to be like, yeah, she's still there, and like her dad's just gonna be off the, or like what, I'm sure the others are gonna have excuses for it. Let's kind of hand wave that away, but it's just kind of funny to think about. But it's like, Harry's ready to say goodbye. And he got a marker at first, and I was like, what is he doing? I actually forgot about it until we got the last shot of the episode, and it was him leaving a marker there at the cabin saying, Harry was here. I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. But yeah, he says his goodbye, and all his friends and the people's lives he's affected are there, leaves the earth to Sahar, and Max is like, oh, so Ethan's going to be a good guy, right? He's like, it's 50-50, so you guys need to keep an eye on him and, keep him in line. So these young alien hunters and got all these other people around and, saying goodbye to Asta and hugging her. It's just, it's just, it's beautiful, but it's also, once again, I'm a sucker for endings in the regard. I never want anything to end. That's my problem. I think that's also why I have such a hard time finishing certain things that have ended. But, Harry gets on the ship, and it's like he's taking Ethan's ship, repaired it a little bit, and it's going to take off. It's like, it'll get me close enough to Heather. And so, waves goodbye to everyone and takes off. And it's very beautiful, especially because at the same time, Asta's on her journey too. Saying her goodbye to Darcy, and Darcy's like, no, I'm going to be okay. But it's like, right, we'll, Dasta, they're named because a teacher or whatever gave them that name because they were always tied to the hip, and still having the little frame bracelet they made that says it. So that kind of being this goodbye gift to Asta, and it's like, right, see you sometime. And it's just kind of beautiful as Asta's leaving, and she's seeing all the love throughout the town, and it's just like, once again, just the message of just how, like, what was it? I'm going to butcher the line. It was essentially like, it's so easy to kind of get so caught up in like worried about everyone's love for you, but it's the whole thing of like the love is already there around everyone. You just kind of, like I said, I'm butchering it. It was a very sentimental and beautiful thing that I'm not even paraphrasing correctly, but it was, like I said, it was like the love is there and it was always there. Just kind of takes people kind of noticing it and realizing that it's always there around you. It's not just about the love people have for you. It's kind of like the love we have for each other and kind of coming together as friends in a community in a way. So it's just beautiful send off. As I love the last shot for Harry, like while he's in the ship in his alien form, looking to the reflection, seeing like from Alan Tudyk's face staring back. So it's just a touching and beautiful end to the series. I looked it up because I was curious, but it turns out Chris Sheridan, the showrunner of this, him and the writers went into this season knowing it was going to be the end. So it's not, because I brought up last episode, I wasn't sure if this was the magician situation. Once again, the writers wrote the series finale in a way that if the show got renewed for another season, it could serve as a season finale, but it ended up serving as a series finale, sadly. And it still ended very beautifully, in my opinion. But My point for that was I didn't know if they went into, I didn't know how this series finale was going to go because I didn't have that information going into it. But it makes, so it's like, okay, so they were able to set up everything and kind of give its conclusion. That's why I'm curious, like, I'm sure, so I guess that means, like, did they already have ideas going into this season that they implement ideas they had in case there was going to be more of the series or what? Um, but I mean, regardless, I'm glad the show has like a proper ending. And, Harry could always drop by, but obviously he's with Heather and their children, and that's kind of nice. And the lessons Harry's learned from there, and it's just kind of like the world's this big place, and obviously that's even on a bigger scale when it comes to the universe. But like I said, everything kind of comes full circle, and it's almost this beautiful, like everything kind of happens for a reason type of thing too. That just kind of a nice send off for the show. Like always with these endings, I want to give a shout out to everyone in the show, cast and crew, people in front of the camera, behind the camera, for just this fun show that is both so funny, so dark and wild and weird. It's just a goddamn fun show through and through with a lot of beautiful emotional growth and beats. Obviously, want to give a shout out to Peter Hogan and Steve Parkhouse, who are the writer and artist respectively for the comics. Obviously, the show, I looked into it. I think I might have talked about this more in season 1. Maybe I haven't talked about it at all. Obviously, the core of the show, for the most part, follows the comic, but obviously it kind of does its own thing. If you're curious about it, obviously read the comic, but which I would love to read the comic to kind of, because the way I was kind of understanding it, like it leans into the whole murder mystery a lot more than the TV show does, and it's like the TV show is a lot more like overt apparently with its comedic and dramatic stuff, but like it's some differences between characterizations, but like I said, the core is the same, but like the show kind of went its own path, but still there have been like multiple miniseries runs of it over the years. But yeah, like without the comic existing, we wouldn't have the show in the first place. So that's why you obviously got to give out shout out to those responsible for the original source material. So thank you so much for the comic that helped forge this series. So that's I feel like I should always kind of make more of an attempt at that going forward too with these adaptations and stuff. But yeah, I've run my mouth off long enough. Like I said, I'm so happy for this show and the great times and the years and fun I've had with it. And I wish everyone the best in their future endeavors. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.